a big setback as far as social media platform Twitter is concerned, considering the fact their plea today has been dismissed by the Karnataka High Court. This was a plea challenging the centre's decision to block a few accounts. The Karnataka High Court today has also fined Twitter with 50 lakhs of penalty. They've also questioned their conduct. You would remember that Twitter, in fact, had moved the Karnataka High Court way back last year in the month of July. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of back and forth, specifically the comments that came in from the former CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, when he said that Twitter was under a lot of pressure by the Indian government, specifically during the farmer protest, to block a certain accounts. Cut to the reaction that we got from Elon Musk, the current CEO of Twitter, who just spoke last week and said that any company that is doing business needs to follow the law of the land. We'll get in our guest to try and understand, is this a stern message that has been given to non-compliers? Also, what does the law of the land say as far as any intermediary that wants to have business and wants to grow in India? But first, let's listen into this reaction coming in from Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar.
I hope there is a learning from this experience of Twitter and this behavior of Twitter, that platforms working with the government of India, working with the citizens of India and the consumers of India, become responsible platforms, work in compliance with the Indian law. I hope there is a learning from this for Twitter and indeed for all platforms, and of course to Shri Jack Dorsey, that the government of India's expectations always, previously and today and in the future, will always be simply this: compliance with the law, and then you can innovate and grow as much as you want.
Let's also now bring in our guest, cyber expert Jiten Jain, also now joining us on the broadcast. Jiten, good evening. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Firstly, how do you see the verdict that is coming from the Karnataka High Court? Is this now a clear message that has been sent to non-compliers? Because we've seen a lot of back and forth as far as the functioning of Twitter with the Indian government is concerned. The High Court has gone on to say they've questioned the conduct of Twitter as well, and they've fined Twitter as well. Do you think a clear message is now being given out as far as intermediaries who want to have business and grow in India?
You see, these are the companies which were trying to act as a judge, jury and executioner in India. They wanted to interpret Indian laws. They wanted to, decide what they will do, what they will comply with and what they will not comply with. I think, anyways, it was a frivolous petition which was, filed with an intention to get some time and delay and, create some sort of PR narrative for Twitter. But ultimately, you have to understand that a foreign company has gone to a high constitutional court of India saying that we will not comply with the constitution of India, we will not comply with the laws passed by the Indian parliament. So I think this petition at the first stage itself should not have been admitted. But I think now, since the judgment has come, even though it is delayed, it is a welcome step. But what is very significant in this judgment is the cost and penalty which has been imposed on Twitter. I think in the entire IT Act, if you see, the only power the government has in case of non-compliance is the blocking of the platform. Where a platform decides not to comply with the government directions, government has no alternative but to ban the entire platform, which is very difficult. There is no proportionate or graded punishment mechanism currently in the IT law. But since they have gone to a court, and court also has figured out that these are the loopholes which Twitter and companies like Facebook have been trying to, exploit in India. So they have imposed a financial cost of 50 lakhs for, non-compliance. And that sends a very clear and stern message for all the companies, whether Indian or private, that you have to comply with Indian laws. You have to, if you're doing business in India, you have to do all the due diligence and all the compliances of local laws. And I think it is a welcome step. It will set the entire precedent for other platforms also who have been, tilly-toeing and sometimes refusing to comply with the government directives.
Yeah. Do you think, before I talk to you about what are the issues as far as the functioning of intermediaries in India is concerned and what does the law of the land say, I quickly want to understand, how do you see the responses that we've seen? One, from the former CEO, Jack Dorsey, who said that there was a lot of pressure from the Indian government. We were forced to raid people, shut down accounts. Cut to the reaction that we got from Elon Musk just last week. He said every intermediary knows what the law of the land is. If you want to function in the country, you will have to follow it. Why did you think the previous leadership of Twitter continue to have this run-in with the central government?
I mean, to be very, honest and a blunt word, they were nothing but a left-leaning hypocrites who had dual standards for Americans, who had dual standards for other geographies like India. I mean, these are the same bunch of guys who were acting as colonial viceroys, who decided that they can ban and deplatform a sitting US president because they thought, in their own little wisdom, that he was spreading false news and he was inciting violence. This is what they thought. Now he was deplatformed and banned from Twitter devoid of any court order, any executive order, any judicial
Yeah.
process. It was 4 or 5 bunch of cronies sitting in a corporate drawing room in US who decided that a elected president who has been
Yeah.
interested in nuclear launch code by American citizens was incapable of operating a Twitter account. Number two,
Yeah.
6 months these same bunch of cronies decides that people who carried out mass executions in Afghanistan, who paraded suicide bombers, Taliban, can open Twitter accounts and they can do live tweeting and run propaganda on Twitter. So look at the double
Yeah.
standards. When there were insurrection on White House and there were riots in the U.S. Capitol, they
Yeah.
banned complete like kill Mike Pence or hang Mike Pence.
True.
15 days later, when the similar incidents happened in India, when government of India requested that there hashtags running calling for genocide, please remove them. Same bunch of cronies says that we do not have technology and technological wherewithal to take down an entire hashtag. These are nothing
Yeah.
but dual standards, which has been called. You have to understand all the intermediary protections which have been given to platforms are given because they claim they're only intermediaries. They do not upload, edit,
Sure.
modify, subscribe, or run editorial oversight of any content. It is the users who are uploading responsible. But moment these platforms decide to interfere with the content, delete users, block users, censor tweets, do all sort of things, they are entering
Yeah.
into the editorial oversight. Now, once they do that, they also have accountability of what it is being published on their platforms. And this is very simple. Platforms are publishing news, censoring people, and running a censorship regime. They also have
Yeah.
to be responsible for what goes on their platform. It is as simple as that.
Yeah. Jitin, I just want to understand, just playing the devil's advocate here, a lot of intermediaries not coming on record, but they voiced a lot of concerns that when governments start to tell us which accounts to block and which way to go, then the entire idea behind a free platform is negated. Do you buy that argument?
I mean, we can simply ask them a simple question. What about the fight where Twitter management was, sitting and colluding with FBI and CIA to censor one Democratic Party in US of one side? I mean, they were trying to cull down Republican accounts and they were trying to support Democrats. These are not us. These are not random allegations. These are official authenticated mails, which is released by the current CEO owner, which is Elon Musk of Twitter, that how Jack Dorsey, his compliance, and everybody was aware. They were just sitting with FBI and CIA with security clearance and deciding what accounts to black. And the best example is Hunter Biden. They censored all the news related to his scams. These are all, hypocrites. I mean, हाथी के दांत है, खाने के कुछ और, दिखाने के कुछ और.
Sure.
They should teach what they preach and practice.
Jitin, now I quickly want to understand, considering the fact that we've seen this verdict that is come in, and you said what is even more crucial is not just the dismissal of the plea, but the penalty that has been levied on Twitter, questioning the conduct of the social media platform itself, 50 lakhs. Now, going forward, do you see this issue of intermediaries functioning in India? They will also realize that if you want to grow business in a country, there is a law of the land. You either follow or you perish.
I think we are the biggest democracies. I mean, this whole propaganda that government was trying to censor account during farmer rights. I mean, just look at the figure. 50% tweets against government, criticize the government, and the government is asking for just block 1,200 odd accounts which have been operated by IFI and which have been impersonating Indian and one or two exceptions were misjudged. But more or less, it was those accounts which have been running propaganda sitting across the border. I mean, and then a big company decide to interpret that we will, interpret what Indian law is. We will decide whether to comply or not. I think a stern action should have been taken long back by the government itself. And they should not have waited for a court order to come in.
So you're feeling they should have not waited for a court order to come. Jitin, lastly, because you've tracked the entire rise of intermediaries and the concerns that have been voiced for them, is it only Twitter that seems to be voicing these concerns as far as the intermediaries is concerned, or are you seeing the other intermediaries also voice similar concerns?
We also see these people do not have any laws, any policies. To have a general Raj in a country where they can make maximum money without any data or conduct they do. They diligently follow the law in Europe, where the hefty financial penalties come. But when it comes to Africa, Asia, and Middle East, they do not follow regulation. They want to act like sovereigns. They want to act above the governments. They just want to make money. I mean, they don't want to open this year. They don't want to post even one person in the single. Because of the government department, post 3 employees. Country where we've got almost 3 employees. For legal compliance, one is a grievance officer. Tomorrow somebody is hacked, somebody's account is tweeting out something. You should have one guy who do all the compliance.